Welcome back everybody to the next episode. In this one we're going to be talking all about trade plans. So of course a trade plan is a very important part of your entire trading journey. You need to be able to have a very concrete trade plan which covers all bases of how you're going to be getting in and out of the market, and obviously everything that comes in between that as well. So of course the main question is, what actually is a trade plan? Well, a trade plan is a set of rules or instructions that outlines your whole trading method and everything to do with getting into a trade and getting out of a trade, and also managing that trade. A trade plan should be made up of your entire trading strategy, okay, everything in detail from how you look at structure to the way in which you draw in your support and your resistance, every single time frame that you're going to be using, what you're going to do on certain time frames, what you're going to be waiting for. Okay, there's so many elements involved in that trade plan, okay, in just a small area such as your actual trading strategy. Now, as well as your trading strategy, you need to obviously understand how you're going to manage your positions, okay, and have your whole management plan in place like we've already spoke about in a previous episode. Now we know how to actually build that management strategy, okay, and make it concrete so that we know how we're getting in and how we're getting out of positions safely and effectively. Now, of course, you don't want to make your trade plan too confusing. Obviously, there's an area in which you can make a trade plan and you can have everything in detail, okay, written out so you understand how you're actually trading the markets. But when it comes to actually executing these positions in real time, what you really want to have, okay, is some kind of checklist or shortened version of your actual trade plan in which you can actually reference and use on a day-to-day basis so that you're always getting involved in accurate positions, okay, and that you're always aware if you're following your plan exactly as you should be. So this is why there's two ways in which you can actually make a trade plan, okay? First of all, obviously you've got the longer approach, and then of course you've got the more bullet point, okay, and more efficient approach. But this is obviously the basis of a trade plan, okay, and the types of things that are involved in one. Now, every trader, okay, needs to have a trade plan. If you're somebody who's not profitable in the markets, ask yourself, do I have a trade plan? Am I following it? These are just very simple questions, because trading is all about following rules, okay, and consistently executing these rules over and over again so that you can actually have an edge in the market. Of course, once you've identified what your edge actually is, that is what you're going to be putting into some kind of strategy. Okay, so then you now know that my edge is in this strategy, which is written into my trade plan, and I am now trading my trade plan. Okay? Now, of course, everyone's trade plan is going to be slightly different. Okay, my trade plan is going to be designed for me personally, okay? It might not work for you. I could give somebody a winning trade plan and they may still not be profitable, solely because that trade plan wasn't made for them, okay? They didn't write it, they don't understand it. Okay, even if they understand certain elements of it, they still might not be able to do it because they didn't create it themselves. Okay, it has to be able to match your personality. It has to be able to match something that you're comfortable with, something that you've studied yourself, something that you've seen in the markets over and over again. Okay, but trading plans can be very personal to you, okay, and all you need to do is write up your edge in the markets, okay, and a way in which you can follow this consistently on a day-to-day basis. Now, why do we need to actually have a trading plan? Well, if we didn't have a trading plan, then what are we actually trading? If you don't understand what your edge is in the markets, how do you know that you're consistently executing the same thing every single time? Without a trade plan, what you're very likely to do, okay, is enter a certain trade in a certain way on one day, and then on a different day, you're going to end up trading a slightly different plan, okay, a different strategy. You might manage it slightly differently because you don't know what your trade plan is. You may have some kind of edge in the market, but if you can't seem to put that into a checklist of rules which you can then execute over and over again, okay, you're not really playing out that edge at all. And this is why it's so important to have a trade plan, because without one, okay, we're just going to be floating around with no idea what we're really trading, okay, and it's very, very hard to actually track what you're doing and if you're doing it correctly, okay? This is why it's really important to obviously record your data and make sure you're always following that trade plan, because if you've tested your trade plan and you understand that it works, then all you need to do is then be consistently executing that trade plan. And this is why we actually need to have one, okay? Because it keeps us in line, it keeps us on track, okay? And it will make sure we don't make mistakes and we're always executing the same way, which we already understand is profitable. Now, when it comes to actually writing out your trade plan, okay, obviously the layout of your trade plan is very important and of course again can be personalized to you. Now here we have some options of, the ways in which you could record your trade plan, okay? You could do it on software such as Notion, you could do it on an Excel spreadsheet, you could write it down on paper or in some kind of diary, you could do it on a Word document. There's so many different ways in which you could, write out your trade plan and make it, personalized to you and the ways in which you want to actually write down what is involved when taking a trade. Like I said, you want it to be simple and effective, okay? You want it to be, clean and tidy, and you want it to make sense to you, because of course, if you make it too confusing, then you're going to be unlikely to be able to follow it accurately, and this is definitely not what we want. What we want is something simple and effective, which we can always execute and rely on when trading in the markets. Remember, when you're actually trading live, you don't want to have to be thinking about, what have I wrote here? This doesn't make sense. I can't find my notes on this. While you're trading live, what you want to be focusing on, okay, is the actual chart and the chart analysis to make sure that you're actually getting in the position. Okay, so you need everything to be neat and tidy and organized so you can either just reference it briefly, okay, and then you understand what you're actually looking for or what you need to see in order to get involved in a position. Now, of course, when you make your trade plan, it's going to consist of different sections. Now, some of those things, okay, that you can include in your actual trade plan are as follows. Okay, what you could do is you could talk about the pairs that you want to trade. So are you going to be somebody who only trades 1 or 2 pairs? Or are you going to have a larger watch list, which you then refine down on a weekly basis? How do you want to trade it? Okay, it's going to be completely up to you and how your style of trading wants to be. Do you want to be somebody who has a look at a lot more pairs, or somebody who just focuses on 1 or 2? Okay, so that's a very, very important point, and something, again, you're going to need to backtest and work out what works best for you, okay, to make sure you're the most profitable that you can be. The next thing I would then be asking myself is, what times do I want to trade? Now, in a previous episode, we've already spoke about the different time zones, okay, London session, New York session, different things like this. There's all different types of times which you can trade throughout the day, and it's up to you to decide whether you're going to be somebody who looks at the charts all day, for example, or whether you want to be somebody who just comes onto the charts at set times and then looks for trades, or whether you want to be somebody who is a little bit more relaxed and maybe you set a few alerts and then you can walk away and then you can come back if certain alerts goes off, okay, so you don't really mind what time it is, okay, if something happens on the chart, you'll be there to then execute on that position, okay, so lots of questions to think about, okay, when talking about times and pairs for your trading. Now, the next couple, okay, are mainly going to be about how you're actually trading as a whole, okay, and your strategy. So when we talk about how to enter a position and how to exit a position, this is going to be completely different for most people dependent on how they want to trade. Now, when we talk about how to enter, this covers lots of different things, all the way from how you're going to be looking at your structure, how you're going to be drawing in your support and resistance, what time frames are you going to be looking for areas of support and resistance, okay, what time frame do you want to enter trades on, okay, what time frame do you want to exit trades on. And obviously that then ties into how you're going to manage the trade, because management could be on any different time frame. I could manage a position on the, the 1 hour time frame or the 4 hour time frame, and by doing that, I'm going to be trading on a much higher time frame for a lot longer. Whereas I could manage my positions on a 5-minute time frame or a 15-minute time frame. And if I'm doing this, then the trade's going to be much shorter. It might not run as far. Okay, so you have to factor in all these things as well when you talk about how you're actually going to exit and manage that trade. And then finally, we have, general rules. And this could come from anything from days in which you're not going to trade, okay, news events that you might not trade, how much you're going to risk per trade, okay, general stop sizes, and every other kind of little rule in between. Okay, sometimes you might find yourself in certain situations where you may do something in this situation, but you might not do it in another situation, okay? So if there's any kind of discrepancies in this, what you need to do is write them down in your general rules, just so you're very, very clear on what to do in every single situation. Okay, so these are the types of things, okay, and the types of sections you want to really have when building your trade plan. Of course, another section you could have, okay, is on psychology. Now, for psychology, what you can then do is focus on, okay, well, how am I performing on a day-to-day basis? Okay, what you could do is have an area where you talk about the type of psychology that you want to have. Okay, now when it comes to actually entering a trade and maybe having some kind of checklist, okay, you could ask yourself the questions: am I feeling, up for trading today? Am I in a positive mindset? Did I rush into this trade? How am I feeling right now? Okay, these kind of questions you could start asking yourself, okay, and you could add that into your plan. So of course, you need to understand the strategy you are using and then break that up into sections so you understand exactly how you are looking for trades from start to finish. Okay, you need to be able to understand your trade plan without even looking at it. Okay, you shouldn't be able to memorize it so clearly that when you're looking for trades on a day-to-day basis, you know your entire plan like the back of your hand. Okay, that's how much you need it to be ingrained in your brain. Okay, and just reference it if you have to. Of course, you can have a checklist if that's how you want to trade. Absolutely fine. But if you're not going to have a checklist, then be sure you know exactly what you're looking for and how you're going to execute it every single time. So now we're going to just look over an example trade plan, okay, and the ways in which we could actually go about drawing up some kind of idea as to how we could actually put the different concepts that we've learned into some kind of strategy, okay, with some rules. So let's have a little look into that now. Okay, so now we're going to talk through a way in which you could frame up some kind of trade idea, okay, using what we've already learned and put it into some kind of flowchart to actually give you an idea of what to look for every time you take a trade. So the first thing you could do, for example, okay, is say start on the daily and draw in support and resistance levels. So I've given myself a time frame, okay, that I'm going to be looking on, and I've given myself a task to complete. So now what I would do is go to the daily time frame and I would draw in all the major support and resistance levels. However I decide to draw in my support and resistance levels will obviously need to be defined beforehand, okay, but once I know how I'm doing it, okay, I've set myself the task to go and do that. So then what could we do? Okay, we could then say, well, refine these areas on the 4-hour. So now what I could do is go down to the 4-hour time frame, make sure my daily support and resistance levels are in the right place, make sure there aren't any other areas on the 4-hour that I'm missing. Okay, and now I've got a really good idea on the higher time frame of where my areas of support and resistance are. So the next thing I could then do, okay, go to the 1 hour. What phase are we in? It's always good to be able to ask yourself questions, okay, just to make yourself think and to make sure you're always looking for the right things at the right time. So what phase are we in? Okay, we'll be on the 1 hour time frame. I'll be able to look and say, well, we're either in an impulse or we're in some kind of correction, okay, and then it's going to make me look a little bit deeper in those impulses and corrections, okay. Is it looking like it's quite choppy, okay? Are we consolidating? Are we looking like we're reversing? I'm going to start asking all these questions, okay, because I've asked myself to look at what phase of the market we're actually in. Okay, so now we know what phase of the market we're in. Okay, the next question is there a zone to work off of? So now what we're going to be looking for are trade ideas. So now what I would do, okay, is be able to mark up my higher time frame areas, which will already be on the chart. So I'll know if I'll be able to trade out of these zones or not. Okay, is there an area to work off of? Okay. Obviously, if there's an area on the 1 hour or something like this, okay, I can obviously add that in, or I can add in more rules to make sure I'm looking for these. But just say, for example, I'm just looking to trade out of the higher time frame areas. So is there a zone to work off of? Either yes or no. There's either going to be one approaching or there's not, okay? It's very black or white. And then finally, look for patterns in the zone, enter on a 15-minute time frame. So now I've kept it very, very simple. So is there a zone, yes or no? Say for example there is a zone. Okay, well what is the zone? It could be a daily area of resistance. Okay, great. So now I'm going to be looking for patterns while I'm on the 1 hour time frame. Okay, what are my patterns? Well, I know there are reversal patterns and there are continuation patterns. Okay, so let's say for example I then see a ascending channel into an area of daily resistance and I'm on the 1 hour time frame. What I'll be able to do, okay, is identify that pattern, and then I've told myself to go down to the 15-minute time frame and look for an entry. Again, okay, this could be even more in detail, and you could say, well, what types of entries? Where do you want to see them? Okay, all these different things. Does this entry have to be at a certain time of the day? Loads of different options for actually how you want to go about trading your individual plan. But of course, this is just keeping it very, very simple, okay? So then what I would do is go down to the 15-minute, okay, and then say, okay, well, we've had a third touch of this ascending channel. I can see a clear 15-minute candlestick pattern, and I enter the position, okay?
The best time to take action is now. What are you waiting for? Tired of struggling with market direction? Want buy and sell indications at a click of a button? Who wouldn't? Check out TradeDork's buy and sell indicator today at TradeDork.com.
So this is just a very, very simple checklist which you can use to actually mark up your charts, okay, and do your analysis. But of course, you're then going to want to have rules already predefined as to, for example, how much I'm going to risk on that trade. Where am I going to put the stop on that trade? Okay, where am I going to manage it to? We've already spoke about management rules. Well, once I get in the trade, you already need to know where you're getting out, okay? Where you're going to get out if it's wrong, where you're going to get out if it's right. There's so many things to consider. However, you can make it simple. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. You just need to have it all laid out nice and clearly so that you're aware exactly what you're going to do in what situation. Okay, and this will give you the best chance. And this is why trade plans are so important. Okay, and you really need to spend some time going through your trade plan. Okay, and then once you've got your trade plan, okay, probably from some kind of back testing, then go ahead and use it, okay? Use it again in backtesting. Try it out, see if it works. Try and follow your own rules. Make sure you're not missing anything. Are there any gaps in what you're doing? All these different questions always going through my mind, okay? You need to make sure you've got it completely bulletproof so that this trade plan that you've created isn't going to be a problem for you, and you know that this is going to be your edge in the market, okay, which is going to make you profitable. So don't rush this step. Make sure you've got it in very, good detail, but then also simple to actually execute with. And then that will set yourself up for success, okay, when trading in the live markets. So now you should all be able to go away, okay, and try and make a trade plan for yourselves using the types of things, okay, that I've told you in this video. Okay, obviously you can add in as much as you want and all these different areas, okay. This is just some of the stuff that I would definitely include in my trade plan, okay, and a basic structure of how you should go about laying it out. Of course, once you've got this all in place, you're going to be a lot more comfortable when trading live in the markets, okay, and you will all be grateful that you have your trade plans, because without them, everything, could be going wrong and you would have no idea whether you're following what you're supposed to be doing or not. You wouldn't know. Because without your trade plan, you've got no way of telling what is going on. And as well, when it comes to actually journaling and recording your trades, of course you can then record that data onto an Excel or on Notion, but how are you going to know if that data is any good? If you haven't got a trade plan to reference it to, what are you actually recording? All you're going to be recording is, yes, I took this trade in this zone, I took it for these reasons, but I haven't got a trade plan, so I don't even know if that's my edge or not. So you see how important it is to actually have a trade plan, and to actually put it into action. It's very, very important, okay? And it's really something you all need to do if you're going to be professional traders. So I hope you've now taken something away from this video, okay? What I would do is use all the points and the kind of structural elements that I've given you, okay? And go away and try and work on one for yourselves, okay? Put it into action and try it out and just see how beneficial, okay, a trade plan can really be to your trading. So that, of course, brings us to the end of this video. I will catch you all in the next one where we're going to be diving into psychology. So make sure you definitely tune in for that episode, and I will see you guys all there.
Be a dork.